Welcome back to the Cutty and Govy show. We're here in our new podcast studio, Stella Mix. Govy, I'm a little tired today. I was out last night and yada yada. I'm tired today. But anyway, let's get right into it. Sex controls the world. We have P. Diddy. We have RFK Jr. We'll get into that. And we have, again, another CEO of Norfolk Southern, $13 million a year guy, violating company policy, having sex with his corporate attorney, fired him on the spot, walked him out of the office. But let's go. P. Diddy's big. Let's start with RFK Jr. Well, for the history books here, this guy was a heroin addict. His second wife hung herself in their barn on their property because she found his diary where he had sex with 37 women in a year. Now, the guy's not that bright. He wrote it down in a diary, and she found it.
And rated them.
And rated them, right. He rated them. And now he starts sex texting this girl that evidently works for the Washington Post or one of Washington Magazine or something, and they're she was sending him nude photographs. I mean, it's just this Robert Kennedy Jr. What is he doing? Now, his wife, Cheryl Hines from Curb Your Enthusiasm, is being ostracized by Hollyweird because, you know, everybody in Hollyweird's a Democrat like me, and they're blowing her out because she's, you know, he's now a Republican or supporting Trump. So now on top of that, she's married 10 years to this guy, and he's sex texting and cheating. And I asked, and I'll ask you, I asked a couple girlfriends, friends that are girls, and I said, look, if you caught your boyfriend or husband sex texting, not having sex, he's claiming he never had physical sex with her, just sex texting. Does that define a breakup?
Well, first of all, I don't believe him that he didn't have sex with her, because this guy can fly anywhere he wants. He can arrange for her. She knows the deal because she's been around the block millions of times, according to everybody else, that this isn't her first rodeo.
The 31-year-old.
The 31.
Girl,
this isn't her.
And he's 70.
Right. So this isn't her first rodeo. He probably said, "Meet me at this hotel. This is where I'm going to be. Get this floor. We'll hook up." So do I believe that they had sex? Yes. Now, as far as Cheryl Hines goes, you would have to think that that you're in this book. You know that you're in this book, and all of a sudden, he has code names for everybody, sort of like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, like Leon did. Big Boob Mary.
How about the wheelchair? This one's in the wheelchair. Susan
Right.
in the wheelchair. So he had names, and Cheryl Hines had a name in there. Now, she looked at this book. She wanted to see who these 37 people are, especially after his wife committed suicide.
Right.
After she found this book. So, I mean, she's looking for an excuse. I think she's going to blow him out.
But he's a scumbag, right? He's basic scumbag.
And she's going to blow him out. Cheryl Hines is going to blow him out.
She's not wearing a ring anymore. That's the gossip.
They don't have
the
kids together.
National...
It's over. Like, she's not going to go
She
down.
lost her friends in Hollyweird, and now he's cheating on her, sex texting. He was having...
And his new job that he's going to have when Trump wins is going to be something in the administration.
In Washington.
And Cheryl Hines doesn't want to move to Washington, and Robert F. Kennedy does.
Cheryl, I'm out here. Give me a call. You can find me on our website, CuttyandGovy.com.
And you're a Democrat, so she would...
Right. You would like me.
Right. So,
So let's hit this P. Diddy thing because it's a big, giant mess. I mean, he's basically going to take all Hollyweird down, all the black elite, even the white elite, like Ashton Kutcher and,
Justin
Bieber and,
Ellen DeGeneres. And
then, of course, we have Oprah Winfrey. They say she's a freak, too. She was in these freak-offs.
But, Ellen DeGeneres had P. Diddy on her show like 20-plus times. And do you remember there was that guy that was the dancer, the DJ Switch?
Yeah.
Well, supposedly, he committed suicide Switch.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people said that Switch was at these parties and he could have been one of these people that, you know, did things. Usher was at these parties. You know, Justin Bieber, they said, broke down because of what he went up with Billie Eilish. He tried to protect her because he knows what this music industry is.
So I don't understand. I understand what his crimes are. You know, he had sex workers crossing state lines, the money, the drugs. But let's say Oprah Winfrey is part of one of these freak-off parties, or Michelle Obama is part of these freak-off parties, or Kamala Harris is part of one of these freak-off parties. What is their crime? I don't understand what their crime is. They're at a party. They're having crazy sex or whatever they're doing. They're having sex with 3 or 4 guys or women or whatever. But what is that? What, other than a besmirch of their reputation, what is the crime?
Their crime is nothing. Their crime is when the government says to Justin Bieber, you got full immunity. You have nothing to worry about. But we want to know what took place at these parties. What is it in what's it for Justin Bieber to protect him? Like, if you got immunity and you got all this and the government looking at you, why not just tell him what you saw? Now, if Justin Bieber says, by the way, they provided me a sex worker. I was 14 years old. Well,
that's a problem for P. Diddy.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
What were you doing at his house at 14 years old?
Where were his parents?
And he's
Where
calling
were his
him.
parents?
Well, his parents were living off of him.
Oh.
So I mean, remember he was.
Yeah.
By the way, he grew him. He raised himself. I mean, remember he was getting the Ferrari,
Right.
driving around the neighborhood, Calabasas really fast. Ashton Kutcher, another one. He was at all these parties. You know, and he was young when Debbie Moore was, you know, before, and he had that show, Punked. So he was there with P. Diddy, and they were very friendly. Now, if you went up to Ashton Kutcher and said, did you do anything? Now, there's a chance Ashton Kutcher was involved. He could have been the one that arranged and brought
Right.
girls.
And supposedly he's a freak. I mean, he's got a giant sausage, they say.
Well, who knows?
That's what they say. That's that's in the National
But there's
Enquirer,
a lot
folks.
of
That was the
of
thing.
celebrities. There's a lot of NBA sports stars. A lot of people went to this house. You know.
Well, this is my conspiracy theory. You know, obviously Uncle Joe Biden needs money bad. You know, he had Hunter working for him for $20 million, $25 million, stealing the money from China or whatever the hell they were doing. I say P. Diddy gives him $500 million for a pardon. Gets a pardon from Uncle Joe for $500 million. And P. Diddy, look, he's in wherever, Rikers Island or MDC or wherever he is. He's going to, for $500 million. He would pay $500 million to get out. And Uncle Joe could fashion it where he pardons 15 people. He pardons Hunter. He pardons Menendez. He pardons P. Diddy. Pardons 15 bad guys. And he throws P. Diddy in the mix of these 15 bad guys, so nobody's freaking out over this. And he gets $500 million. That's it.
Well, there's a chance it could be much less. Like when
You're going to bargain him down?
no, because here's what I think is going to happen.
Oh.
I think that when Biden is ready to step down, and it's called pardon time. You know, he's going
Right.
to. It's going to be his day. He's going to start pardoning people, and he probably has a pile of paper on his desk that his handlers give him, and maybe there's 15 or 20 pardons there. And they're like, they shove the paper under him and go, I need your signature here. Now, I don't think he's reading it. And they're like, oh, this guy, you know him. He's the guy that gave to our campaign. Like, I don't even think he knows who these people are anymore. I think they just need his John Hancock. They might put it down under Sean Combs. He was a nice guy.
Yeah, right.
Like Sean
Sign
Combs.
it, Joe.
And sign this.
That's
and
funny.
Joe's looking for P. Diddy.
Yeah.
He doesn't see P. Diddy. He sees Sean Combs. They tell him to sign it. Next thing you know, the next day they say he was pardoned. Joe has no idea.
Govy, you're a problem solver.
I mean, I think they're going to...
And Trump pardoned, or Clinton, Mark Rich. Who pardoned
right.
Mark Rich?
Clinton did.
And then they pardoned Steve. Who was the guy? Manafort. They let him cut him loose. Yeah.
Trump pardoned Lil Wayne.
Yeah. They pardoned a bunch of bad guys. I mean, I think it's a pardon's coming
But there's
up.
going to be a documentary coming out that 50 Cent's doing on P. Diddy.
Oy.
On all the part. Like, he's coming out like hunting for bear. But all this is going to be after the election. But I truly believe there are people that right now, that you know who's getting the payment, the payout, isn't to Joe Biden. It's whoever this handler is that the guy can say, listen, get me $1 million and I'll get that paper in front of him to sign. And it's a different name. Sean Combs. I think he has no idea who.
But you think he's getting a pardon? Diddy's not spending 25
I
years
don't think
in
he's
jail.
getting the pardon, but if he did, it's under Sean Combs is getting the pardon,
Right. Or
not
Love.
P. Diddy.
His other name is Love.
Something, but
Yeah.
And by the way, there's no way Joe Biden knows who his name really is.
Well, since we're talking about Uncle Joe, we have a photograph. I don't know if we can put it up here. Evidently, Jill Biden is now sitting at the head of the table in the cabinet room, running the cabinet meetings, Govy. Uncle Joe's sitting in the middle of the room, and Jill Biden, who wasn't elected, was not vetted. We don't know what her qualifications are. She's running the cabinet. The one cabinet meeting, how long has it been since they've had a cabinet?
It's been over a year.
Yeah. So the one cabinet meeting she's running.
You're talking kiddo. Didn't he say, take it away, kiddo?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever talked to your wife, like, take it away, kiddo? I mean,
Now, you tell me what a narcissistic egomaniac she is that she needs a photograph of her.
signing, though, her signatures are on some of these documents.
Right.
Like, why did she need her signature? And why is she sitting there? Like, what goes through that person's, these generals? Like, what's going through their mind when they turn their head? Because they all have to turn to the right and see who's leading this meeting.
How could you have any respect for her? I mean, she may be bright. I don't know anything about her, but I mean, come on. How could she lead a cabinet meeting? They're talking about Israel. They're talking about inflation. They're
Because
talking
they're not
about the
hiding him
deficit.
anymore.
She's sitting at the head of the cabinet. What the hell did she do to get that
Because
job? I'm a little upset about
because
this.
Joe's gone. And by the way, he still has 5 months of his term.
No, we're October, November. Oh, you're right. January
20th.
right.
So this guy has all this time, and
You're
we're
right.
basically saying that we are on pause. He's going up to, like, we can talk later on about some of the other things, issues in the world right now, but, you know, he's not running the country. And Kamala Harris isn't running the country. So I think Joe Biden is running the show.
So since we're talking about first ladies, I'm gonna address something that your team, the Republican team, is doing that I have a little problem with.
Okay.
I read today in the New York Post, my favorite newspaper to get all my stuff, Melania gave a speech at Mar-a-Lago for a fundraiser, and they paid Melania Trump out of campaign funds $237,000. Now, they're running TV ads to the plumber, the carpenter, the electrician. Please give me your $5, $10. Get Donald Trump reelected. They just paid Melania Trump. She didn't even have to get in a car or go anywhere. How do you feel about this?
Well,
It's your team.
it is. I call balls and strikes.
All right.
So I got to tell you something. First of all, I want to go on record saying I like Melania Trump.
I like Melania Trump.
And I think she's a great first lady. I think she takes a lot of crap. I think she bites her lip a lot. She has, you know, it's not easy listening to the press, call your husband Hitler, bash everybody, try to assassinate him twice. And by the way, and she truly believes that the government tried to kill him, which I also agree with. I do think that the government was involved or could have helped prevent it. But that being said, when I see on social media Don Trump Jr. asking for $5 and $10 because anything can help, for Melania Trump to make $237,000 for not even leaving her house to get this money where it's not really done, this doesn't really happen, I think is a disgrace.
It's
a
like
disgrace.
a brain fart. Why? You know, he's a very wealthy guy. Why wouldn't he just give her?
Because I think after being beat up all day from everything, he went up to Melania and said, Melania, do you really need this $237,000 from my campaign? And she wants to feel like she's earning her keep and it's her money. And she's like, yeah. And instead of him fighting and saying, let me explain it to you, he's beat up. He just said, okay. But in reality, major thing, because it looks horrible. And I wouldn't give any money to him. I would just say, listen, if you can give $237,000 to your wife, what are you asking Joe the plumber for $10 for?
Well, how about if you're Elon Musk and you're giving him $45 million a month for his campaign, and he sees that he just gave his wife $237,000 to give a campaign speech?
Well, he has his Truth Social, and he wasn't allowed to sell it when it was $70, $60, $50, but he's now able to sell it once they took all the restrictions off. It's $14 right now. Even though it crashed and everything, he's still worth $1.9 billion on paper, or $8 billion.
So give her some of that stock.
Right.
Give her some of that stock.
Yeah, right. Why is he for that? I'm saying
Bad luck.
Bad luck. It's a mistake. I'm surprised the Democrats haven't attacked that.
I can't believe they missed it. I didn't.
That's because
I'm on it.
You know why they don't? You know why they missed it? Because it was in the New York Post. If it was in the New York Times or something else, they would have. But they don't pay any attention to what's going on other than what's on The View, what's on MSNBC.
Folks, the New York Post has great horoscopes. You got to read it every day for the horoscopes. And the front page is always great. They have, some crazy saying.
I'm going to have to get you to get the app. Because you keep reading. You're old school with the thing. It changes all the time. You got to get the app.
But you can't believe how popular I am at the restaurants because I take it for lunch and then I leave it for the waitresses and they're all very excited. They like it.
They like to go through the paper?
So you just touched on it, Govy. Let's talk about this assassin thing. The report came out about the Secret Service. Do you really believe they're trying to kill Trump?
Yes.
This Dan Bongino, former CIA Secret Service operative guy who's retired now. I think he does TV, he does Fox, he does a podcast. I think he might have a security business too. He absolutely says Iran's coming for him, and they're not done. They're coming after him, and they're looking for him. And he really says the Secret Service has to button this thing up, or they're going to get him.
I think that with 130 world leaders at the United Nations right now, and the Secret Service is in charge of protecting them all, and there hasn't been a problem in all these years. And now there's this guy, Donald Trump, that they've tried. They've tried to get him off the ballot. They tried to take away all his money from these frivolous lawsuits. They came up with the January 6th where they didn't give the real side of his side of the story. I think they did everything they can to stop him. And when you have a person that's in charge of the drone in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or Butler, Pennsylvania, and he is on a tech support calling up a 1-800 number to say, my drone isn't working. I need it to protect the president. And they said, you're third in line. It should be another 5 minutes. I think there's a problem that this is the president of the United States. There should be no excuse. And for it to happen twice, it's almost like, hey, we miss. We got another attempt.
Why don't they have 2 drones? Why don't they have 3 drones? A backup drone. They have fighter jets in the Army that are $2 billion a jet. So don't they have enough money to get 3 drones?
So when they tell you that he is protected, and you hear this, and you say, well, who's in charge that says that Donald Trump is protected? Oh, Mayorkas. So now I'm going to ask you, what other job does Mayorkas have that he's in charge of, besides the Secret Service, besides that?
Well, he's in charge of the border.
Well, how many times has he said the border is secure?
In his eyes, it is.
Okay, so 14 million people came in, and he can look you in the eye and say the border is secure.
Yeah.
So why can't he say the president is protected, even though he didn't have the A-team following him?
Well,
so I blame it on Mayorkas. And by the way, how come Mayorkas isn't fired?
Yeah, Uncle Joe doesn't fire anybody. But the problem is, now it's out there. All the stuff about the first assassination attempt, the second assassination attempt. Everybody's critiquing everything. Now, God forbid, poo-poo, they shoot this guy. I mean, how does anybody get out of that mess? I mean, the warnings are all over the place. And you have a bad actor state, Iran, saying, I'm coming to get you.
Well, you have Joe Biden going on The View yesterday after everything going on, and he's still putting a bullseye on him saying democracy. And his head of his business commerce is saying he needs to be extinguished.
Yeah,
I mean, these words that you're saying about this guy. I mean, if I'm Donald Trump and someone said to me, I need to be extinguished, I take that person's name and I turn around at one of my rallies, and if their name is, say, Sally Smith, I'll say, Sally Smith needs to be extinguished. And by the way, she lives at 1342 East. I would give the address. And then let Sally Smith know what it's like to look over her shoulder every 2 minutes that someone looks at her funny. She might think it was Donald Trump. And then what's she supposed to say? That's unfair. Donald Trump put a bullseye on me?
Well, he's not helping himself because he basically said, if I become president, I'm going to flatten Iran.
No, he said he will flatten Iran if Iran tries to.
Well, they tried.
No, a sitting president. Yes, he said he would flatten Iran, that if he would do that.
So let's get on to that Israeli war stuff. I mean, you know, it's kind of crazy. I think, this is my opinion, you tell me, Gabi, I think that Israel sees Uncle Joe isn't doing anything with anybody. He's not fighting back with all these missiles. So Israel figures they have 45, 60 days to just do whatever the hell they want to do, and they're just going in there and they're just bombing everything. They're blowing them up with their beepers, their pagers. They're sending missiles everywhere. They killed 500 people yesterday. They shot a building down or something.
Well, I think someone went up to Joe and said, listen, I know you're working around the clock, Joe, on getting the hostages out, but don't worry, that's not happening. Israel now knows that that's not happening. They also know that Kamala Harris isn't going to do anything right now because she's running for the president. So Israel has 40 days right now to do anything they want. They're not going to listen to this 21-day ceasefire, so Hezbollah can get back on their feet. It's sort of like if you're in a boxing match and I hit you with an uppercut left and you didn't see it coming and you're staggering and I run to the corner and I'm giving you left, right, and you're almost ready to surrender. Nobody says, wait, give them 5 minutes to get. No. Israel now senses that they have Hezbollah on the ropes. They had all their addresses, the GPS. They are able to.
Yeah, they killed another big guy.
Yeah, they're picking off. They only have 3 left. I mean, they knocked off 17.
It's crazy.
And there's 3 left, and they know where they live. They're not stopping.
So do you think like Putin or any of these bad guys are worried like Israel knows where they are and they can just pop them off anytime they want?
I think they know that their intelligence from the Mossad is pretty impressive, and I think Iran is thinking that too.
All right, so I do have a question for you. You go buy a brand new iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Are you concerned that maybe because it's made in China or Taiwan, they could send out a synchronized message to everybody's iPhone and blow it up in your pocket? I mean, like Israel did, they blew up 2,500. What's to say China doesn't decide to screw with America and blow up 10 million iPhones?
Because what Israel did is 10 years ago, they set up a fake company that resells pagers and walkie-talkies. So if you buy your iPhone from an AT&T store or from Apple Direct, they can check those things to make sure everything is clean. But let's say you went to a person selling an iPhone in the mall in one of these stores that aren't AT&T. Then
kiosks.
Yeah, because then you don't know. Maybe that guy set up a business and he's buying it. He's opening up the back and he's putting it in. That's where the danger comes in. It's like an authorized dealer. So like I'm in the watch business. Well, is it a benefit to buy from an authorized dealer that gets a watch directly from Rolex or Cartier or Patek Philippe? Or would you want to go to a jewelry exchange where a guy in a booth selling you a Patek? Do you know if it's real 100%? Do you know if it's used? Well, buyer beware.
Right. So you're not concerned that because it's made in Taiwan or China that they could blow that thing up?
I think that
even if it comes from the Apple store.
I think Apple's
checked everyone.
Is checking on that stuff right now. I don't believe some of the other ones. You never know where it gets. If I bought 1,000 Apple phones and I'm now going to resell it, you don't know what I'm doing.
Right. So let's go back to this DEI stuff. Every company now is throwing DEI overboard. I don't understand, this Harris and everybody is all over this DEI thing. Before was the rage, now but nobody wants it. I mean, all the companies are getting rid of it. I mean,
well, just because there's some astronauts stuck up in space right now,
right?
Because Boeing had a DEI hire, and he says, "Listen, I didn't know I was supposed to return them." It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Well, let's say you get on an airplane and the captain goes on, "Welcome to Flight 663. We're on our way to Hawaii, folks. And I just want you to know I'm a DEI hire." Are you excited about flying on that plane?
Well, I would be less excited if he said, "Listen, I've only been in 4 accidents, but I'm much better than what I was. The last one, the guy that backed me up, I clipped the plane, but I'm much better. That won't happen again." Just like when you're 16 years old, how many 16-year-olds get into a little accident?
Right.
Well, maybe he feels I'm entitled to a little accident because, after all, I didn't grow up with airplanes.
So anyway, let's circle back to Govys Picks from last week. We have Taylor Swift. She's lost, 75 million fans or something, She's getting destroyed since she's, backed Kamala Harris. And, of course, her boyfriend's not playing too well. He's having some shitty times. So where do we stand? What'd you do last week, Govy?
Last week, I ended up winning one more than I lost.
All right.
So, but if you take away the vig and the action, we broke even.
Got it.
So I'll give you my picks for this week, but that's a lot better.
Well, let's go over some of those games. Temple won.
Temple won, so I lost that game. The reason why Temple won is they were actually getting killed, but their field goal kicker made a 64-yard field goal.
Right.
It was the longest field goal in college football since 2001 and tied the record. So
what you think of that Kansas City? Do you think Kansas City, the refs are in the bag for Kansas City with, the calls where they're giving Kansas City these game-ending calls? It's crazy.
I think the league sent out a thing that Taylor Swift is so big that they want Kansas City. The better Kansas City does, the more money the league makes. As far as the referees go, this gambling is I don't think the NFL or anybody else quite understands how large it is. It used to be if you wanted to make a bet, you would call your bookmaker, and they basically gave you the point spreads of over and under and the line of the day. Today, you have who's getting the first touchdown. Is Barkley going to have more than 100 yards for the Eagles?
All the parlay bets.
And you have 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds betting $20, $10. They're using their phone. There's so much action going on with gambling right now that you could go to a Washington Commanders game and you could go to Fanatic Sportsbet and actually make a bet at your seat in the second quarter of, do you think there's a field goal this quarter? And you can make a bet on it. So do the referees who make $230,000 a year, is it possible someone can go up to them and hand them?
Here's $5 million.
Here's $500,000.
Yeah.
Just call a holding call.
Right.
And, so I think they have to really look into who are the referees, and they have to start tracking the money. As far as Kelsey goes, I think he has a perfect storm coming. He's getting old, father time. Your body doesn't bounce back. Like you said, you went out drinking last night.
Right.
And when you're 25 years old, you wouldn't even have said that to me. You would have been no problem. But right now, you're letting me know that you feel it. I think when Kelsey gets on a private plane and he's flying to Europe and he's flying back for a day and he's seeing and he's going to the bars and he's in Vegas and he's
up all night with Taylor Swift.
He's up
yada,
all night.
yada, yada.
Yeah, all of a sudden his body, he can't run like he used to.
He's out of shape.
And he's out of shape. And you know what? They've won 3 games in a row.
But why do you think they're not throwing on the ball? Because he's out of shape?
He's not open.
Yeah, he's not open.
He's not open. By the way, they won games that they're 3-0. They could easily be 1-2.
Right.
I mean, the last game.
Last call was bad.
That last goal cost them the game. I mean, they would have lost the game.
Right.
So I think that is when you see someone 3-0, there is a big difference there.
Did you have the Eagles last week? I forget. Eagles won.
I had New Orleans.
It was 5 points.
I had New Orleans.
5 points. So they beat the spread.
If they did not come back on that miracle comeback, New Orleans would have covered.
Right.
And I also lost another bet by 0.5 point too. And I had whatchamacallit.
Did you have Buffalo?
I did.
Buffalo's great.
So yeah,
Buffalo's amazing. They're going to win the Super Bowl.
they are. And I also had Arkansas getting points. For anybody out there
Right.
that thinks I don't take underdogs, I do, and they covered and won the game outright.
So what are our picks this week,
So our
Gabby?
picks this week.
Let's hear. Do we know what stadiums they're at?
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
good.
Okay, so tonight there is a college football game, and it's Army versus Temple. So you already know I'm taking Army because you must bet against Temple. So it's in Philadelphia. It's Army minus 11 points against Temple.
Wait, Temple's favored over?
No, Army is.
Army's favored
by 11 points. Take Army. Tomorrow night, University of Miami. They are 3-0. They are coming back. The U has a little swagger right now, even though we played nobody. But the swagger's back. We have a Heisman Trophy candidate, and Ward is the quarterback. I like University of Miami minus 17.5 points.
Wow, who are they playing?
Virginia Tech.
Wow,
I think University of Miami. This was a ACC rival.
Yeah,
they owe them a punch in the gut, I think they're going to punch them in the gut.
Virginia Tech's not 17
They
points.
stink. Virginia Tech.
That's 17 points. That's
you
a lot of points.
You watch it. It's Miami.
2 touchdowns and a field goal.
I think they're going to put up over 40.
Okay.
I got Kentucky plus 17.5 points over Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a great school right now, great team in the SEC, and I think Kentucky's better than that, so I like plus 17.5 Kentucky. I like Oklahoma State plus 5 over Kansas State. I think they're better than what their record is, and they're in tough games. I like USC minus 15.5 over Wisconsin. Wisconsin lost their quarterback, Van Dyke, who used to play for Miami. They are quarterbackless. They are going to get killed by USC, who is now in the Big Ten, who is going to make a statement. They are my college picks. Going into the pros, I hate to say it, this hurts me, but I like the Dallas Cowboys minus 5.5 points over the New York Giants. Matter of fact, even though
it doesn't matter, it's a good matchup.
I'm still cheering against them tonight.
Yeah.
Even though money is on them, I don't care.
They're both 1 and 2 teams, right?
They're both 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But I do think Dallas.
Where's the game?
It's in New York.
It's in New York.
It's in New York.
And you're taking Dallas.
And I'm taking Dallas. And I think they're going to win easily.
I just love to watch the owner of the Dallas Cowgirls in pain, Jerry Jones, when he's losing a game. They always show him. They should have a camera on the guy, and the guy's in excruciating pain.
Well, he made a comment that he couldn't pay for Henry, who only ran for like 200 yards on him, and he said he couldn't afford him because he's always last. But the owner, by the way, of the New York Giants, they did the show on Hard Knocks on him, and he said, I hope this Saquon Barkley doesn't go to the Philadelphia Eagles. Anybody but the Eagles. He ends up on the Eagles, and he says that would really devastate me. Well, it's going to devastate him because Barkley's going to be probably MVP of the year.
That's great.
So I like Dallas. I like the New Orleans Saints bouncing back after that game against the Eagles, plus 2.5 over Atlanta. I got to see Atlanta
Really,
versus.
I like Atlanta.
Why? What did they do against the Eagles? They stink.
You know, they're a great team.
Okay, I'm taking New
Arthur
Orleans.
Blank, great owner.
I'm taking New Orleans plus 2.5. Then I like the Cincinnati Bengals, who are winless. They are 0-3. You know, teams can come back from 0-3. This is it. This is the whole season right here where you start like tanking. So I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals minus 4.5 over the Carolina Panthers. If they don't win this game, you're going to see it's going to be like they're just going to roll over.
Is that Ron? Who's the coach? Ron Riviera? Or?
No, he was gone a long time ago. But this is but by the way, the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers was Young, Bryce Young. He was the number 1 overall pick.
Right.
But they got rid of him for I forget the redheaded kid that's been a journeyman that's been around. And Bryce Young's girl who left him, and that's why he's like devastated.
That's a shitty game. Who's going to watch that game?
She left him for Tyrese Maxey.
I know.
Of the
Tyrese makes more money. Now he's making money, right?
I think it's because she likes Tyrese Maxey's watch. He wears a D. Bethune watch, and I think she likes his watch and likes his taste in watches.
D. Bethune, everybody.
That's right, D. Bethune, Jess Pagula, Emma Navarro, Tommy Paul, Swizbeast.
It's Govy's show.
And Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg could have any watch in the world.
Mark Zuckerberg.
He chooses a D. Bethune. So then I like.
Was he a tough negotiator, or he just came in and wrote a check?
Well, I think they like watches that no one knows what it really is, and he's now out there. How about that?
Good.
And then
he got a Peugeot.
FP Journe.
Yeah, he bought a Peugeot. I saw.
That's because he saw my brother doing a commercial. My brother said, "Who wears it better?" My brother is jumping in the swimming pool, showing you it's the first sport FP Journe. And 3 years ago, my brother went down a zip line. He did everything you could possibly do. It was on the tennis court, basketball, swimming, to show you can wear it. Zuckerberg must have saw it on one of the reels, and he now owns that watch.
He wears it when he hikes in Hawaii.
Yeah. So him and my brother are like have something in common. And then I like the Kansas City Chiefs -7 over the Los Angeles Chargers because the Chargers quarterback looks like he is not playing.
Right. Kansas City can't lose.
Right. So they're my things. And as far as the Miami Dolphins go, I don't even want to pick on them because I cheer against them living here in Florida because I don't like them. But they gave $240 million to a guy that was concussion prone. He now is out with a concussion. The backup got hurt in the first 2 drives of the game. The Miami Dolphins, who have $200 million wide receivers, a $60 million tight end, and an offensive line worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they have no quarterback.
So
Zero.
What would you have done? You have this guy. He wants a big contract. You're going to trade him? You know, your quarterback before you signed him. Yeah, he had 3 or 4 or 5 concussions.
They didn't have to sign him.
He sat out a year.
They didn't have to sign him. They owned him this year. They could have said play this year.
Right.
They didn't have to give him. They could have given him the money next year. And I would have had Tannehill. I would have had a backup ready. Because if I had a guy that was like could go either way and my whole season's on it, it's called insurance.
You don't think Tom Brady's coming in to take over the Miami Dolphins?
Can't. He makes too much money being at Fox, but he would have been the perfect person that could have been there. So I would have gone with Tom Brady. And by the way,
48 years old.
He loves it. But you know what was great with Tom Brady this past week? They made him do the Dallas Cowboys games 3 weeks in a row. And finally, he had enough. And he said, I'm done with Dallas.
Right.
And now, this week, he's going to be doing the Eagles-Tampa Bay game.
That's a good game. All right, folks, what a show today. We have Govys Picks for next week. I think he's going to do better than 50-50 this week. He has some good picks.
Yeah, one last topic that I want to that we mentioned. This Zelensky.
Right, with the outfits. When's he going to get a suit and
tie,
The
outfits have to stop already. The outfits.
He needs a suit and tie.
The outfits have to stop.
His wife's in Chanel in New York all week.
But when they flew him in to meet Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania, a swing state, and took him to places, that is ridiculously unfair. And you know what? I would not be surprised when Donald Trump wins this election. And by the way, he's winning big. He's going to win this thing big. And when he does...
We're going to have a $10,000 bet on that.
Okay, and when Zelensky comes to him and says, Mr. President, I need some money for Ukraine, like he keeps coming here, he's going to tell Zelensky, how much land do you want to give back to Russia that they took? Because we're not going to be funding you anymore because your person that you backed lost. And I think it was Barack Obama once said, losing has consequences. Did he not say that?
Yeah, I mean, look.
Well,
the argument is, if Putin gets this, it keeps going. Well, the rest of the countries are NATO-backed, right? They say he's going to take Poland. He can't take Poland. It's NATO-backed.
Right, but he can maybe take Finland and Sweden if they didn't join already. But you know what he's going to do? He's going to give them a little piece of.
Ukraine.
And by the way, Joe Biden's on record when he was first invading. Didn't Joe Biden say, "Well, it depends how much." Depends how much he's taking. Well, Trump's going to say, that's enough. He took a little sliver. That's enough. We're going to end it. And
it's got to end. It's just too much money for us. We need the money. America needs the money. You know, Mayor Adams needs the money. He's in a little bit of trouble too, folks.
By the way,
We're not prepared to talk about it. It just happened, but they indicted him today.
Yeah, we have, what is it? The city that never sleeps, except for Mayor Adams, because he was out at every nightclub.
Right.
He had $2,000 suits.
$5,000. I said it a year ago.
Yeah.
How is this guy was a cop his whole life wearing Brioni suits, $5,000 suits,
Flying first class.
$10,000 probably
Flying
now.
first class on vacations.
Yeah, flying $12,000, $15,000, $20,000 flights everywhere. How do you do that on $168,000 a year?
By the way, do you know who was giving Menendez gold bars?
Yeah.
I think the same person that was giving.
I mean, I just don't understand where these guys' brains are. They're just out to lunch. I mean, how do they get to these unbelievable jobs and they're stealing the whole way?
They follow Joe. If Joe can do it. And by the way, they're trying to put Adams away for the same thing that Hunter Biden did.
Right.
The Pharaoh.
Being a foreign agent.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right, folks. Everybody have a great week. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
See you, Govy.
Away from the devil. I'm only